we are going to call this meeting to order. I would ask Ms. Gould if she would please do roll call. It's okay.
Holly Jarvis.
Here.
Kim Winter.
Here.
Andrea Fick.
Here.
Chuck Melkey.
Here.
Jessica Lenave.
Here.
Jack Sayer.
Here.
Carrie Germain.
Here.
All here.
Thank you, Sue. And now would you please join us in the pledge to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome, everyone. We're glad to have you here. I am going to open up the floor for public comment related to agenda items. If anybody would like to approach the board and make comments, please come to the podium, state your name, and keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. We do have another opportunity towards the end of our meeting. Seeing no one, all right, we can move on. I would entertain a motion for our consent agenda.
So moved.
Support. Jack, Andrea, any comments or questions? Hearing none. Sue, could you do a roll call, please?
Chuck Melkey.
Yes.
Andrea Fick.
Yes.
Carrie Germain.
Yes.
Kim Winter.
Yes.
Jessica Lenave.
Yes.
Holly Jarvis.
Yes.
Jack Sayer.
Yes.
7 yes.
Thank you. Motion passes. All right, next, let's move on to Mr. Heatherton, our superintendent report.
Thank you. So we are a couple days out from spring break, and we have lots of students and staff who are excited to be on break. And our last day is Friday, and then it is a week and a day, and we return on Tuesday the 2nd. Thank you to Mr. Kitchen, who served in my absence when I was at the Genesee County Superintendent's Retreat in February. I heard he did an outstanding job, except that you did have to pass on the book study. So Chuck made you pass on the book study.
I think it was unanimously voted on.
So since that is the flavor, with all of our book nerds or not here, instead of doing a presentation, I'm just going to do a real quick wrap-up in my superintendent's report. Sorry about that. And first, I'm going to just preface this. As you know, we were doing success mindsets with both the principal group and the central office group. I actually stole this nice little wrap-up from Travis Smith, whose group presented to central office, and they had some nice activities to go with it. And then I turned around and used it for the principal's wrap-up. And so it's just a little bit of a reminder of what we talked about. So the first page, just talking a little bit about the types of mindsets, and as you're trying to move forward in an organization, you want to move towards growth as opposed to fixed. You want to move towards open as opposed to closed. You want to move towards promotion as opposed to prevention. And you want to move towards outward as opposed to inward. And then the next couple of slides just kind of give you a rehash of the definitions and behaviors and commitments of each one of those mindsets. So in the growth mindset, it talks about how we approach challenges, seek advancement, are honest and transparent. We persist through challenges. We value learning and growing and excelling. In an open mindset, we're quick to ask questions. We invite feedback. We're seeking truth and alternate ideas. And we see disagreement as a helpful option. In a promotion mindset, we are taking risks, anticipating problems, making progress, fulfilling our purpose, empowering others. And in the final mindset, which we did not get to, is the outward mindset. And that is all about being the ideal self, seeing the best in others. My favorite one here from Covey, seek to understand. Lifting others up, having empathy and compassion, and we help others get ahead when we find success in doing that. So that is kind of the rehash of the entire book in 5 slides. So there you go. I can say that we'll close that out. If you have questions before I leave, you can hit me up with those. A couple reminders. We do have graduation coming up on May 22nd at 7 p.m. We have an MASB Spring Institute if you're interested, and that's on Friday, April 19th and Saturday, April 20th. So if you're interested in attending the MASB Spring Institute, please see Sue, and she can help you out with that. This past Monday, we had our kindergarten enrollment event. We held that at the Cage. It was a great opportunity to meet people. We had a little kindergarten signing day, so check out social media if you haven't, but you will see all of the 5-year-olds sitting at the table, signing up as if they were being offered a college scholarship. Fireball the Dragon was there. There was a little football helmet on the table. And I talked to Mrs. Fry today between all of the online enrollment and the night enrollment. We're about where we normally are for pre-spring break, which is around 140. We usually pick up the other 110 to 120 from now until September. Connections to Wellness continues to meet frequently. We had a meeting today shoring up just the facilities and the arrangement because there's a lot going on trying to find a good traffic pattern and flow for people because we're now up to 80 to 90 partners. Last year we had 50 to 60, so we have increased our partnership by almost a third. We have Scratch Barbecue for some boxed lunches, and so trying to station them in a place. We have the STEM activities like we had last year. We have 4, I think, politicians that are going to be here, so we do have a political corner right when you get in the PAC. And of course, we had to expand into classrooms just because those partners are so much more. I think most partners usually bring 2 people with them, and so you're looking at 200 people just in community partners. So if you haven't seen all of our advertisements, that is April 9th at 5:30 to 7:30. There is financial resources, mental health resources, physical resources, well-being resources, school resources, clergy resources. We got banks and financial institutions. Basically, if there's a resource in Genesee County, they're probably going to be at the event. So we're pretty excited about that. Jim and I had a chance to attend the Genesee County first ever mental health symposium. I am actually on the Safety and Wellness Committee at the GISD with the superintendents, and we were pretty impressed with Oakland's health symposium last year, and so we tried to start out small. We hosted about 150 people from around the county. It averaged about 5 people per district, plus some of the other charter schools in the area. The keynote was Dr. Ferris from Oklahoma University. She did a fantastic job speaking for over 90 minutes straight on trauma and hope. She actually was a research specialist in trauma, and as she was researching in trauma, she realized that all the work we do in trauma is removing the barriers that cause trauma, and while removing barriers is good, that is taking away something that is a deficit, which led her into hope, which actually has some very solid research behind it, which is adding something to someone who's in trauma to give them something to strive for. And it was an amazing, amazing keynote. Jim and I had a chance to run a session with Montrose. There were 3 local sessions done by partner districts, and we partnered with Montrose and did wellness data, and we had some great feedback and questions. So we were proud to represent Swartz Creek at the symposium, and we're lucky to partner with Montrose because they're, I think, the first district in on iWellness. Plus, they're black and red in color, so we didn't have to change any of our slides, which was great. I do have a legal update. All right, so a lot of laws that were passed last year were not given immediate effect, which then gave them a timeline after session closed before they became law. Session did close early in November because there were two representatives which had resigned due to winning mayoral elections. So as of February 13th, a lot of those laws are now in place. One of those is the Read by Grade 3 law, which basically repeals the component of holding students back and retaining them. The majority of the rest of the law is still in place. We still do IRIPs, we still have our resources, and we still have our benchmarking, we still track all of our reading scores, but the portion of retention is no longer law, and so that is no longer in effect as of February 13th. There is an update on the court case from the ORS that is going all the way to the Supreme Court, and that has to do with final compensation for retirement purposes. So there's been some arguments because if you're not in a contract, negotiated contract with a group of 3 or more, they have run into many issues over the last years where individuals were not getting their fair cut of what should have been their retirement. So someone who's on an individual contract, like superintendents, assistant superintendents, deputy superintendents, assistants, so Sue would be an example. All of our, basically anyone employed at central office who's on an individual contract could be subject to this. And so there was originally a win where they said that you can't cap the yearly increase at 4%. And so they took that out of the law, which went back to the old law, which then stated it the last time you were in a group. So if you haven't been in a group that has a contract for 20 years, they literally were putting people back to salaries they earned 20 years previously. And so a bunch of groups, including Collins and Blaha, who is representing Genesee County, have filed all sorts of amicus briefs, and that's just basically showing the court all of the other information of all of the other people all across the state whom that impacts, and then oral arguments will begin at the Michigan Supreme Court, basically MASA versus ORS on April 16th and 17th. There is a dyslexia bill package out there right now. And it is Senate Bill 567 and Senate Bill 568. If these pass and move forward, some of the requirements would be to screen for dyslexia by 27-28 school year. It would require screening for all K-3 students 3 times a year. And it would require screening of 412 students if they demonstrated behaviors that indicate there could be dyslexia. That's a whole lot of screening and a whole lot of testing on top of the other types of screening we do, so we will watch that one carefully. House Bill 5174 is talking a little bit about tissue donation and transplant programs, and it basically would make sure that our students in high school would receive an hour of instruction on donation. So it would have to be similar to some of the finance situations that were worked into certain classes. This would have to be worked into one of the class, I'm assuming science, and they would have to talk about that if that passed. House Bill 5527 talks about cardiac emergency response plans, and 5528 talks about coaches being certified in CPR and AED. I'm not too worried about either of those plans because I am confident that we are all shored up in those areas. House Bill 4279 would modify tax requirements and allow ISDs to contract with other ISDs for CTE. So for example, Genesee ISD, as you know, has a massive program there, and it would allow someone like Shiawassee County to partner with them and bring those students over to the center under a contract between ISDs. Right now, they're not allowed to do that. And Senate Bill 518 would extend the interim special ed teaching certification until 27, which is a great thing because it's our hardest area of places to find teachers in. So that would be well received. And that's it.
Thank you, Rod. Any questions for Rod?
I have one comment.
Sure.
Not last month, but the month before, we had, I don't know if anybody recalls, a couple of parents that were concerned about the way things were going in the athletic part with the basketball. And I did some follow-up on it, and I found out that Rod had taken care of the problem within 2 weeks and reported back to us. So I like that because I go to a lot of board meetings throughout the county, and a lot of time board members don't address anything or they ignore it, and they don't, let the proper people know. So I'm always quick to complain, but I'm also quick to say that I like that because when the public comes in and they have a concern and we can address it to the superintendent and then it's taken care of, I like that because that parent, got his request answered. Whether they like it or not, it was answered and it was good. So he wasn't here last month. I would have mentioned it last month. That's why I skipped it. So I just wanted to say that as far as that comment underneath this. Carrie, thank you.
Thank you, Chuck.
I just want to say thanks for the book read. I mean, it took a little minute. I did mine audiobook, and it was not an easy audiobook to get into. He just wasn't, you didn't want to listen to someone who's exciting. But eventually it clicked in. I couldn't read the graphs, but while I was driving. But there were a few chapters that I really did enjoy. I feel like I'm a pretty open-minded person, but it still opened up more things. I felt it was good. So thank you.
Rod, do we have recommendations for groups that do a book study to follow up in a year to see if there's any change in the assessment of individuals or anything? I don't know if we would do that at a board level, but across the administration and the groups that did the book study.
I think that with most books that would be hard, but ironically with this book, we did have an assessment that was right in the book. So that would be really easy to visit in a year and take the assessment again and just self-assess what the movement was on those 4 domains.
Okay. All right, anybody else? Okay, thank you very much, sir. All right, moving on, you do have in your board packet some non-certified staff employment. And if there's no questions on that, we'll move on to the board subcommittee reports. I can start with academic achievement, or we can go backwards. Anybody okay with that? All right, academic achievement met on Tuesday, and we had a nice discussion and overview from Kevin Claren and Michelle Wildy about first the K-5 math materials that are on our agenda tonight. We got an explanation of the new publisher that has purchased that product. We currently use Math Expressions. This is through K through 5, and it's been deemed a good program to continue. It has digital access. It has workbooks for younger children, and also some dry erase math boards, which I thought was pretty cool. But the good news, I think, with the new publisher, we don't know why, and we're not asking questions, is that the cost is considerably, I'm not going to guess, but somewhere in the neighborhood of $15,000 to $20,000 per year lower. And so we were very excited about that, something that the certified staff like, and it has a wide variety of options, and it was lower cost. Next, we had an update from Kevin Claren on the MyKIP formative assessment, and he went through the formative assessment skills that focus on math and reading. Talked about the what's been accomplished so far, and that's the addition of the instructional coaches, some of the professional development, which will be expanded, the embedded and professional development, and teaching students to use the assessment data to self-assess themselves and then to make improvements, which was really exciting. And let's see, Kevin is very well connected, as we know, to various groups, but the Michigan Assessment Consortium, or MAC, provides valuable resources for the district and other Swartz Creek teams. And let's see, I won't go into that too deeply, but we had a really nice overview from Michelle Wildy. I want to give a shout out to her because she presented on FAME, which stands for Formative Assessment for Michigan Educators. And Michelle is a certified or trained coach in FAME, and she's the only one right now in the district. We were excited to learn that that training is available to districts on a no-charge basis, and there's a plan to, I don't know if they've identified the individuals, but have someone at each building that's trained, and so a 5-year plan for professional development as well that would support that. So really exciting opportunity for the district. And I appreciate Michelle's passion for it. She was really excited about sharing it. And we should share, I think, those slides eventually, and maybe she can come and share it here. But she compared it to our district mission and vision. And it's funny because while she was presenting, I was thinking, boy, this kind of aligns with our mission and vision. And then she had a slide that actually did that. So much of the discussion was surrounding how students become self-directed learners. And so that'll be really exciting as that develops. There was no public comment. And of course, we thank the presenters and the teams. And then Kim did have a question about whether we could get an overview of trauma-informed care presentation or materials. And Kevin had agreed to provide some of that information. And I think, Jack, you also included that in your report as well. So that's all I have. And if there's no questions, I can pass it on to Jack for policy.
Thanks, Carrie.
Sure.
So policy met right after academic achievement. Present was myself, Carrie, Andrea, Kim, Jim, Rod, Kevin, and Michelle Dexter. We called to order at 5:25, and our first item on the agenda was we were reviewing the selections from the Troon policy update packet that we had received. And we had actually gone through it, and we brought to the last board meeting for a first read. And we went back through it and looked at all of our selections that we had made. In your packet, you do have a sheet that shows all of the selections that we made as well. I did list them right there in the agenda item. So those are there for you guys. And there's also a packet that has all of the new policy updates. This is the policy update packet that we received originally. So the selections go with the update packet if you would like to review them if you haven't already. And I believe we're doing the second reading of that today to finalize that and to adopt them, hopefully. After that, we briefly discussed scenarios for the bargainable policies. Most of these policy updates were due to laws being changed that now allow for certain bits of the policy or the policy itself being bargainable by the teachers' union. And our union has sent a letter, and we are going to bargain some of these policies with them. And we briefly discussed the scenarios that could play out, and we also kind of gave Rod a brief guidance on how we would like to have him move forward with those upcoming negotiations. We also briefly discussed in the committee comments, there was no public comment, we briefly discussed in the committee comments the parking situation. We received an email about a situation in the parking lot with parking permits and people parking in zones that are not meant for parking and the compliance of our parking permits. The committee made it clear that the parking permits are not an optional thing and that the vehicles that were parking in the no parking zones will need to be dealt with. Steve Clark, the high school principal, did send out an email today addressing that situation, and he also kind of reiterated that fact that we're going to have enforcement and the permits are non-optional. So that was good, and thank you to Steve for addressing that. And then as well, I have that Kim brought up that she would like to have a more in-depth presentation on trauma-informed care, which I support that. So and you said Kevin was going to bring some of that to us, so hopefully that'll happen. And our policy committee adjourned at 6:17, and our next meeting is April 16th. If there are no questions, then we can move on.
Thank you, Jack. All right, if there are no questions, we can move on to Jessica for finance.
Thanks, Carrie. The Finance Committee, the Finance Committee meeting met March 18th in the Administration Building. Present was myself, Chuck Melke, who arrived late, and Rod arrived late, Jim Kitchen, Jamie Cowan, and R.C. Hunt. From the public, Mr. Pobosic. We started at 2:05, and the minutes are the cash and investment summary as of 2/29/24 were reviewed and discussed and are as follows. The general fund was $7,941,185.58. The food service was $679,749. Student activity is $340,948.63. Debt service, $3,236,393.83. Capital project fund is $4,540,506.73, leaving our total cash and investments at $16,738,783.77. A few notes from going through the summary, and that is that there is it shouldn't be new line time, it's a new line item. Oops, sorry about that. For tracking outside transportation income and expenses, and processing of we are in the process of establishing with more accurate information a budget and a process for the school facility rentals, contributions and donations, and miscellaneous revenue with more accurate information coming in. It's roughly the same numbers currently, but Jamie's just getting a better idea, so there are a little bit of changes that are going to happen there. We have some anticipated increased expenses, and they are due, so there will be a budget, in the budget adjustment, for special ed transportation. We have increased expenses due to the GISD not providing those services and us needing to use a third party. Jamie has asked for kind of a worst case scenario between now and the end of the year, what that would look like. So we're anticipating in the high end that it would be an additional $20,000 in expense. And then there is also for the fund balance, a fund balance adjustment from previous year voids, roughly $3,000. And then for EduStaff, there's an adjustment. We expect an increase in just shy of $28,000 for additional staffing costs. So just a couple of things there. And the next agenda item was the check register review. We reviewed the February report and discussed it with no issues. The 2019 arbitrage rebate report, Baker Tilly will audit the interest part of the bond. There is no additional cost for that, as that's part of their services that we've already paid for. The next item was the summer feeding program. Swartz Creek Community Schools will have a summer feeding program. Hopefully we will have additional grants for that, and the dates and time, or dates and locations have not yet been decided. The next agenda item was the 27K student loan update. That is a repayment program for staff for their student loan debt. And then I will say this, again, to reiterate, for staff, not just teachers, but for staff, you must be signed up before the deadline, and I can't remember what that deadline was. The 22nd, was it? And it was in the email.
I think it reopened and then closed this Friday,
Yeah.
coming up.
So with no exceptions on that deadline, after that, this is a program through the state and that will give, will allow employees up to $200 per month repayment. And that will happen indefinitely, based on when the money runs out, is how it was phrased in the meeting. The next agenda item is that we have roughly $600,000 remaining on the outstanding for the 2018 bond contracts, and we are down from 18 contractors to 7. There were no public comments. Mr. Pobosic did say we do a good job handling a lot of money, but I forgot to add that in. And there were no committee comments, and the meeting ended at 3:07 and transitioned to operations. Our next meeting will be April 15th at 2 p.m., again, in the administration building. With that said, yeah.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
So with the summer feeding program, it said hopefully to get additional grants. What happens if we don't?
It will definitely happen. Already, there are some grant monies. Jamie just said that there are some there are always new grants and programs coming out.
That would just
Tony is
cushion it
working
better.
on which grants are gonna be available, how much you can get. So
Okay.
that will impact, like, again, the location, how often, all that
Okay.
stuff.
Thanks.
Yep.
Thank you, Jessica. Any questions?
Although I was there for both meetings, I don't know if Lurvy got back with us and how much it would cost to extend part of the Phase 1, Phase 2 operation, which I'm going to talk about in a moment. But do we need, Rod, any board movement to transfer any money, or can you do that?
The new estimate for Phase 1 moved from 1.17 million to 1.5.
Okay, do we need a motion or any adjustment to move money?
No, not at this point. When it comes to you, that the motion would
Okay.
take place when you vote on it. I mean, Jamie will have to tell you how and where it's housed, but the motion will come to you in the package of the
Okay.
contracts and the bids.
I didn't see the new proposal yet, that's all. Thank you for that. Thank you, Jessica. I make a motion, we accept Jessica's report as given.
I second that.
Okay, Chuck, Jack? Any comments or questions? Hearing none, Sue, can you do roll call, please?
Carrie Germain,
Yes.
Holly Jarvis.
Yes.
Chuck Melkey,
Yes.
Jack Sayer,
Yes.
Jessica Lenave,
Yes.
Kim Winter,
Yes.
Andrea Fick.
Yes.
7 yes.
Thank you, motion passes. Thanks, Jessica. All right, Chuck, moving on to operations.
Operations meeting started at 3:10 PM, just a few minutes after the closing of the finance. Present was myself, the chairperson for the committee, R.C. Hunt, our building director, Jessica was there, Jamie Cohen, our finance director was there, Superintendent Rod Hetherington was there, Assistant Superintendent Jim Kitchen was there, and from the public was Dave Lurvy, who owns Lurvy Construction, and his assistant Kyle. And then from the public was John Poposic. First agenda item was, of course, Mary Crapo update. Lurvy presented the outline for and provided drawings of the 2 stages of the project, Stage 1 and Stage 2, and has bids ready to go out. There was some delay, and these should be ready at the April meeting. Some suggestions on finishing pickle courts and concession areas were changed in the building area in the first phase instead of leaving that to the second phase. And Dave was going to send over the adjusted amounts in a day or two. Also, the finished contract was presented, and it has to go through Thurm yet to be approved. Public comment, none, regulated basically to Mary Crapo, and we just did briefly discuss if the 400 wing was on budget and how that was going. And according to Jamie and RC, I believe it's within budget, and I don't know how much percentage is done. They didn't give me a percentage. And then we did talk briefly about, with the public comment, Mr. Proposik said that somebody put a drainage ditch in to relieve water from the cemetery by the middle school, and we adjourned at 4:30, and the next meeting will be April 15th, 2024 at 3 p.m. or directly after finance. Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck. Any questions for Chuck?
I have a question, but I don't know if it's answerable. So do we have an idea of when Mary Crapo, like the ball field that's currently there, becomes unusable? Like when ground starts breaking? Just because middle schools normally, like, do we know when that starts?
So right now, the bid is held up until the county approves all the water drainage. Once the bids come out at this point, because it'll be spring, you're really looking for late summer, early work. So there'll be no movement on anything through the end of July.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Thanks, Holly. Anyone else? All right. I don't think I missed any reports, and our student is not with us this evening. Okay, so moving on to board discussion items, we have peer-to-peer presentation.
Yes, we are excited to have Matt Swade from Swartz Creek High School to come talk a little bit about peer-to-peer.
All right.
Pointing towards.
Oh, there we go. Okay. Good evening, everybody. My name is Matt Swade. I'm a special ed teacher at the high school, and I'm just so excited to talk to you guys about peer-to-peer. We're in our first year, and just the impact and just the really cool things I've seen this year has just got me so excited for next year and beyond with that. So to kind of kick that off, if you're not familiar with peer-to-peer, it's a program that's aimed to connect students with disabilities with students that don't have disabilities and try to create intentional and authentic connections and friendships and just all sorts of different positives that help them out. Through the START program, they note that there's so many positives as far as attendance, grade point average increases for the students both ways, the students that are providing the support, the students that have the disabilities. And then as part of in a full-wide school culture, it just can provide positive for those students and just awareness to students with disabilities, people with disabilities, and a more inclusive setting for our school district. There you go. Okay. For our program, I'll never forget this. Sean Kovach, who just happens to be in the room, she was having an introductory conversation. She's like, so how's the peer-to-peer program? I'm like, well, we don't have one, but it sounds really cool. And a couple months after that, was able to go to a professional development, and all the things that Sean had mentioned as being beneficial, I was like, wow, this is amazing. I cannot wait to get started with students and making connections. So the process with that is there's an application, and I want to get some input on where you're at as far as what do you know about being inclusive? What do you know about the autism spectrum? And with that, full transparency, everyone that applied got in this year. I wanted to make sure that we had a fair amount of applicants to pair up with our students on the autism spectrum. And with that, they were assigned a buddy. And with that, they meet with me once a week to kind of get some tools and some strategies to help that student out in the classroom. Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, they kind of seamlessly blend into the class that their buddy's in. It could be a gym class, it could be a math class, English class. I'm trying to think of some other connections. Health class currently. And they're really just aimed at assimilating into that class as if they were a student in that class. With that, they model what a student does. If I'm supposed to have my warm-ups out, I also have my warm-up out. So they kind of like assimilate in with that to model and be a good support for them. Once a week they have like a reflection with me for my classroom, and it gives them a way to kind of ponder on some of the things that we talk about throughout the week. With working with their peer, learning about autism itself, and how that maybe discussion or that lesson can be utilized to help. There's a picture there. That's a kind of a mock-up of our of our first shirt that we made. So we've been able to make shirts. That's actually student designed. So each one of our students got a shirt. Benefits, not just academically, but a lot of our students on the autism spectrum have noted deficits from a social component. So they act as role models in the classroom. They can help with homework. They can help study for tests. They can help with all sorts of things in the executive functioning realm, whether it be organizing, time management, self-regulation. A couple students have been amazing in that regard in helping self-regulation. Some students have wanted to avoid certain things when they are dysregulated, and I'm very proud to say that a lot of the students are able to get back to class, whether that be a simple walk with their peer, maybe a short conversation with myself, and they get back to class, and that's the goal. We want them to be in class. We don't want them out. They become friends in and out of the classroom. Here's a picture from we took a field trip just last Friday, actually, through this START program, was gracious enough to grant us a grant for expanding and building new peer-to-peer programs. So we went to, it's called Last Level Arcade in Fenton, and they got to interact, and what was really cool was that they're not just interacting with their assigned buddy. I'm really excited that I would say each one of these students are friends with one another. And throughout the week, we do different types of activities, whether it be board games, holiday celebrations, short little minute to win it type activities. And we meet about once or twice a week to do some of those things. And ultimately, we want our peer and our buddy to just be someone that they can rely on. And I think that we've been effective in that regard. So what are some of our students saying about peer-to-peer? To be a peer is to be a friend. It's to support them in a social way and be their person to lean on. And being a peer means having someone for yourself to lean on too. It's a friendship no different from any other, just with the addition of being in their class. It's our responsibility to help our peers in any way that they need, whether that's academically or with some of their social struggles. Sorry, this one's long, but I really like it a lot. Because I've been able to experience this program, my interest of the autism spectrum has grown a lot and has made me want to expand my knowledge on the topic. I've become really interested in how each person on the spectrum deals with different situations, as well as how their brain works in different situations. I'm also very interested in the many different and new perspectives each person on the autism spectrum has, and new and different ways that they think about and go through things in life. Because of peer-to-peer and the sparks of new interest in the subject, I plan on getting an endorsement in special education as part of my college degree. I hope to use this in my elementary education major as a way to better my interactions and knowledge with those who are on the autism spectrum. And then one more. To be a peer is to be a helping hand and a friend who is available for one if needed. During my time in peer-to-peer, I grew a small bond with my very talented individual. He is quick-witted, fast on his feet, and never gave me any particular challenges. I feel that during my time in peer-to-peer, I've become more comfortable with his environment and knowing that he had a helping hand if needed. And then I also have Madeline Francis. She's been one of my early students who has been a participant in peer-to-peer. So I'll turn it over to her.
Hello, everyone. My name is Madeline Francis, and I'm a senior this year at the high school. I decided to take peer-to-peer at the end of last year, and I was picking out my schedule, and I think it is one of the best choices I've ever made. I love this class. It is so much fun. I enjoy being with all of the people in this program, not just my peers specifically, but everyone is like my friend in there. I decided to join this for a couple reasons. The first being that I really wanted to learn more about the autism spectrum. And I've learned so much about the autism spectrum. And another one being that I wanted to make new friends, which I have. And I see them a lot in the hallway, and I say hi to them in the hallway. And I feel like in our school there's a bunch of exclusion. And I feel like peer-to-peer really helps with that and includes people who are different. And I love that. I also have decided that with being in this program, for my future, I would like to become a board-certified behavior analyst and work with kids with autism because I enjoy this program so much. There's definitely a bunch of challenges with this program, but with anything new, there's going to be challenges, and it's very easy to overcome them as long as you're communicating with your peer. Thank you.
Thank you, Madeline.
And just to close, this kind of is just kind of a quick shot of year one. In the first semester, we were able to have 5 peer matchups, and it was awarded a grant for expansion of our program. Semester 2, we were able to have 7 peer matchups, had a field trip, and we were also in the works of planning a bake sale to help raise funds for the future. And it coincides pretty well with Autism Acceptance Month. And then for next school year, this has got me kind of blown away that we have 19 potential students that want to join peer-to-peer, which is very exciting. So with that, we'll not only be able to support students on the autism spectrum, but different students with different disabilities, IEPs, 504s, different kinds of ways we can support our students. That's peer-to-peer. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. I think you're going to have some questions if you don't. I saw some hands go up over here.
Yeah.
I have a question. Is this just in the high school? I mean, is it?
Yeah. As of right now, it's just in the high school. I know big picture-wise, I don't want to speak for Sean, but she really likes peer-to-peer. She likes it a lot.
And is it right now? Is it just autism students who have autism, or is it other disabilities?
Yeah. So that's the initial goal of it, being through the START program, but they're pretty transparent in saying that if you have the people, branch out. Even myself in the second semester, I'm supporting students that are not only on the autism spectrum.
I think this is a wonderful program, and it sounds like we've helped this young lady to figure out what she wants to do with her life.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah.
So a matchup, is it one-on-one? Like, do you have one partner?
Yeah,
One
yeah. So
peer?
right now,
Okay.
that one student has one peer. As we can expand, grow, I am aware of other schools that have multiple peers per buddy, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay.
But right now, we're kind of a one-to-one operation.
And it's an actual class, it's an hour in the day. She comes to your classroom?
Yep.
Do
They
they
meet with
both
me-
come? Like,
they-
does the one, both?
So
the
I meet
peers?
with my non
Peer.
yes, and they get the tools and strategies from me to then the rest of the week be with their peer. So they get a lesson from me on Mondays, and the rest of the week they're in their buddies class.
Okay, so on Monday they have class with you, and then
Yep.
those other 4 days, they're not missing a class to be in class?
Correct.
Perfect.
Yep.
And I was gonna ask the same thing about the IEP, because I saw that in the very beginning. And what's the grade level matchup look like? Do you try to put a freshman with a freshman, or do you try maybe a senior with a freshman, just so it's not
This
total
year,
peer? And
yeah, so this year, we're pretty upperclassmen heavy as far as who our peers are, and it kind of worked out to where we have a lot of upperclassmen are with some underclassmen. I don't know the grade kind of layout for next year, but my vision is to at least be, at the same grade level as your peer, to be supportive of them.
all right, thanks.
So is it your team that identifies the students that are the buddies?
Yeah, yep, yep. And I have a lot of students on the autism spectrum on my caseload, so it actually worked out pretty good for me because I know those students, and I was able to, I think, do a decent job of matching them up.
Okay. This is a great program, I agree. And we had the Blueberry ambassadors here last month, and I think there were a lot of us in tears. It was so sweet, and this is wonderful. But go ahead, Jessica.
Well, two things. Thanks for doing this and doing an amazing job with it and it continuing to grow. And it just made me think, is there any opportunity and is there a need at all to have peers at the VLC as well, the high school? Sorry, I look over at Jody too, but I look at you both. Or is this something based on how it's designed that it has to be in the physical building of the high school?
That's a really great question. I don't have a super great answer for that off the top of my head. There are, I know, like online ways to connect I've seen through Start's website and through some of their resources. So I'd have to imagine that some districts are doing some form of virtual connection. Sure.
Okay. Thanks a lot for doing an amazing job with this. Thanks.
Thank you.
I have a question too.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just, so before you let him walk away, so are there certain requirements that you have to meet to become a peer? Is there a certain grade point average or attendance or?
No, and that's one of the things that is so inclusive to the program. For my first 7, they were kind of like your I don't know, higher achievers, if you will, and I don't want to exclude anyone because I think everyone has tools that they can offer a peer. So they fill out the application. There's pretty good chance you're gonna be in the program. That's it. Yeah.
Madam President, I got something too. What do you need from us? And this is for Sean too, so don't think you're excluded back there. What do you need from us to expand this? This is a topic that hits real close to home for me. Not going to get into too many personal details, but this is a great program. I think Ms. Francis hit it on the head here. A lot of these kids, they are excluded. It's not a feeling of exclusion. It is exclusion. And they struggle with a lot of the social aspects and the learning aspects. And I think this program clearly has effect, So what do you need to, I'm not quick to throw money at many things, but this is one where I will. Okay, so what do you need to expand this? I want this bigger in the high school. I want this bigger in the middle school. If we can expand this into elementaries, I want to do it, whatever it takes. So what do you need from us to make this bigger?
I don't know necessarily what I need. We need people in these buildings that can become familiar with the program, whether that's myself sharing information. One of our speech therapists, Tina Dean, she was able to actually kind of utilize something that we utilized in peer-to-peer at the middle school. So I don't know what I would need. I think we need people that are passionate about supporting students on the autism spectrum starting there, and then we can expand to support, a wider population base in our students.
Okay. So are you going to, moving forward, potentially advertise this more, maybe get in touch with Ben Gillette, see if you can put it on ITC?
Yep.
Maybe put something out, maybe send an email to the staff saying, hey, this is a program and we're thinking about expanding it. Can you help us out? Maybe something like that.
Yeah.
Because I think everyone here would agree, this program is having an impact and we want it to succeed. I want to see it succeed. So whatever you need from us, send me an email personally. I'd like to help this however I can. But if you can think of anything that you need to make this program expand and make it better from us, feel free to reach out. This is great. This is awesome. And I want to see more of this. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Is there a plan to assess the academic achievement that might be related to the relationship and maybe the help that the students are getting or encouragement to focus on their education as well?
Sure. I just want to make sure I understood the question. Am I looking at the improvement as soon as they've kind of been through the program? Is that?
Maybe not even as soon as, but over a period of time. And maybe this is a Jim and Rod question as well, as
Sure.
because we as a district look at impact of program implementation and changes and adjustments.
Sure.
And it just seems like there's an opportunity to assess the impact of the program, which then gives it more value and maybe nudge if in fact it is helping students to achieve in whatever way or area that they are needing to.
Yeah, I don't have numbers or data or anything like that, but
That's okay.
But two students do come to mind. Two freshmen, not super successful. One student in particular, as I kind of gained information regarding, patterns and behaviors and things like that, trying to learn a little bit as she was kind of new to my caseload. Some of those things that I heard from the middle school went away, so I'm taking that as a win. We're assessment based. She's getting 80s and 90s on her assessments because she's in class. I'm taking that as a win. So while I don't have, data for all the students, I think of her right away. So I think if I were to pull up maybe previous years' grades to now, I feel pretty confident that we have some growth there.
And it sounds like the students recognize the value of being their person, which is really, I think, so incredibly valuable. I don't know that you can put an academic achievement value on that, but just having a friend. So thank you and others. Any other questions?
I just had a comment. I'm kind of like Jack. I think this is like whatever you need. But I remember several years ago when my son was like a junior, I think there was a program called the PALS program. But I picked him and another student up at the high school and took him over to Moorish, and they both had an assigned student. And I just think if we could put that into those elementaries, it would be a great thing for those kids to, they looked forward every week to having their time with their pal. So I think if we could start that in the elementary or get it in there somehow, it would be great. It would be great.
Yeah, I agree.
I know it was a transportation issue. They had to get transportation over there because they weren't old enough to drive yet, but a lot of the juniors and seniors can, It's just a thought.
And we do know that middle school can be challenging for students. So that comes to mind as well.
Yeah.
I don't think we're done having this conversation, sounds like.
Middle school.
But we do appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you for implementing this, and thank you, Sean.
Yeah.
Thank you
For
very
even,
much.
knowing about it, but talking about it, and then leading to this, right? So thank you for that as well.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Madeline. Thanks for being here. All right. Next, we have the second reading of our policy update from November 2023.
Yeah, so in your packet, you do have the entire Troon policy update. You also have the nice notes that Jack typed up that kind of gives you the options we've chosen. We did go through that, as he said, yesterday, just to make sure that we were still all on the same page and we had the right options chosen. These policies all deal with changes in law, and basically there's very little, because of the change in law, there's very little options. I know it shows 1, 2, 3, 4, 10 options, but most of the entire packet is red, which means you have to accept, or it's crossed out, which means it's gone. So we're just ready to get this implemented, and it does have to be on the books before we start negotiating. So I'll entertain any questions.
Any questions for Rod? Okay. Then I would entertain, we are going to move on. I guess that's our next.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Okay. All right, so the next item on our agenda is to approve those policy updates. With that, I would entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Andrea, Holly, any comments or questions?
Thank you for giving a little synopsis, Jack.
Yes. Yes, I agree. Hearing none, Sue, can you do roll call, please?
Jack Sayer,
Yes.
Chuck Melkey,
Yes.
Andrea Fick,
Yes.
Kim Winter,
Yes.
Jessica Lenave,
Yes.
Carrie Germain.
Yes.
Holly Jarvis.
Yes.
Thank you. We have our new policies. Next on the agenda is approval of VLC employment.
Yes, I would like to invite Jody Morgan up so she can introduce our recommendation for employment at the VLC.
I'm very excited about this. It's 2 years in the making, so that's exciting. It's my pleasure to present to you Mrs. Jennifer McGrail for consideration as the full-time math teacher at the Virtual Learning Center. Jennifer has a bachelor's degree in criminal justice and sociology from the University of Michigan Flint and a master's degree in curriculum and instruction from Ferris State University. She's had quite a diverse employment experience, including substitute teaching. She served as the hospitality supervisor and service trainer at the Bavarian Inn, and she was a lead station agent for American Airlines here out of the Flint office. And for the last 10 years, she's been teaching and working for Michigan Great Lakes Virtual Academy as their math teacher, so we are stealing her. Sorry, not sorry, I'm sorry. She has worked with many students, families, and colleagues who have shared that she is very passionate about students and seeks out ways to ensure that they are successful. When I asked or spoke to several of her colleagues, these were the words used to describe Jennifer: amazing, nurturing, relational, a go-getter, confident, open, and willing. So we are excited to have Jennifer join our VLC team, and without that, without further ado, I present to you Mrs. Jennifer McGrail.
Hello. I'm very excited for this opportunity. I have a lot of experience online, building a lot of relationships throughout the whole state of Michigan. My students have been from the UP all the way down, to Dowagiac, all the way up from east to west. I look forward to bringing that knowledge to help our students that in my community, and I've just loved everything I've heard tonight. In fact, I'm going to go home and look up that START program because I thought, well, you can do that virtually. So we'll see how we can get that incorporated into the VLC, and I'm excited for this opportunity. I can't wait to begin and look forward to working many, many years here until I'm much older.
Well, Jennifer, welcome. Thank you very much. And I always ask our candidates, sorry, this is going to blow the bubble for the next person, but Why did you choose Swartz Creek? And we're very happy that you did.
Why did I choose Swartz Creek? Because, well, you educated my own children. And I like them, and they're pretty smart. And I am a community member. We've lived right downtown. In fact, we're like part of the hometown. I've seen lots of students from Swartz Creek, dealt with them at my little pop stand for 15 years. And they're always very, actually, they thank me. And they come up and they say, and then in fact, I had some come back with their own children and say, I brought my kids back because they were so young. So I always like that time of year because I always end up, meeting other, people in the community. So the interactions I've had with all the students and the teachers, it's just been great. So I'm looking forward. A long time ago, since I didn't start right out of school, with that master's degree, it did make it actually a little bit harder back then to get hired. So I was thankful to get that teaching opportunity at that time. And well, I just feel like when I found out it was open for 2 years, I was like, well, maybe they were just waiting for me, right? That's how I felt about it. I was like, wow, 2 years. And so I'm excited. I'm looking forward to working with everyone and having a successful career here as well.
I think it's exciting to have someone who has that extensive virtual experience, like you were describing, that's now going to be able to share that with our students.
Throughout the years, consistently, my families have always said, I feel closer to you than I did when my kids were in school. And it's because, just the communication, relationship building, being kind, treating everyone the same, it doesn't matter. And so I've been very excited about what I've heard. In fact, I actually was on the FAME team at my other school. So I do know something about that as well. I was like, wow, this is great. And when I was sitting out there waiting to meet with Mr. Heatherton, all those words, family, bringing all those up there, I was like, wow, this is great. This seems like a dream come true that I get to be in person, but still virtual with the experience I've had. There's a lot of students that need that still.
And it's nice to see a smile on Jody's face.
Right?
She's always happy, but she's smiling a lot tonight. So.
Have you always been an online teacher?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Well, I was a substitute teacher, a union sub, like a long time ago for like 10 years. So that was the only experience in person. But I'm really just a lifelong learner, and I'm always thinking, well, maybe I'll go and get that doctorate, because I always wanted the cap right there. It was different. It looked better. It had bigger sleeves. But, I really have always think that education is, the answer to a lot of troubles, and I just want to help students to have that desire to learn too. Yeah.
Okay. Well, with that, I am going to entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Support.
Is that Chuck and Jessica? Any comments or questions? Be it resolved that the Swartz Creek Community Schools Board of Education approves the Virtual Learning Center employment of Jennifer McGrail, math teacher at the VLC, as presented. Sue, can you do roll call, please?
Kim Winter,
Yes.
Chuck Melkey,
Yes.
Jessica Lenave,
Yes,
Holly Jarvis,
absolutely.
Jack Sayer,
Yes.
Carrie Germain,
Yes.
Andrea Fick.
Yes.
Motion passes. Congratulations. and
Thank
welcome.
you. I appreciate this opportunity to help you. Shake their hand.
You were asking about questions for Rod, and it was turn up the heat. There's no other question around here.
Okay. Next on our agenda, we have approval of SCEA employment.
Yes, I would like to bring up Sean Kovach so that she can introduce our new prospect for speech and language.
Hi, everyone. This is another Jennifer. This is Jennifer Huff. She comes to us with this is her 26th year of experience as a speech and language pathologist. We are so excited to have her and for us to introduce her to you tonight for approval, as we will finally be fully staffed this year. Yes, exactly. In addition, Jennifer, with all of her years' experience, she would be supporting our students who are walk-ins, so our little itty bitties, 3 and 4-year-olds, as well as supporting our elementary level speech students. So here is Jennifer for you.
Thank you. I am super excited about this opportunity. I'm going to get right to your question I know you're going to ask about why Swartz Creek. So I previously worked in Flushing schools, and I can tell you from working in another district within this county, Swartz Creek's special ed department has a fantastic reputation. Your speech department is absolutely dynamic. I've worked with some of those ladies at the county level, and when the opportunity came up, I couldn't pass it up. I live in Durand. Flushing's a bit of a drive. Swartz Creek is right next door. And I said, I got to do this. You guys are right here. We've got great administration. You have a great department, and I'm excited about working with them.
Well, thank you. Anything else you'd like to share?
No.
Well, thank you very much. Sean's smiling too. All right. With that, I would entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Support.
Jack, Andrea, be it resolved that the Swartz Creek Community Schools Board of Education approves the SCEA employment of Jennifer Huff, speech and language teacher for Swartz Creek Schools as presented. And Sue, could you do roll call, please?
Jack Sayer,
Yes.
Andrea Fick.
Yes.
Carrie Germain.
Yes.
Holly Jarvis.
Yes.
Kim Winter.
Yes.
Chuck Melkey.
Yes.
7 yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
I was going to ask a question if these were vacant positions.
Or vacant, they're not in positions, yeah.
Okay, next on our agenda is the approval of the 24, 25, and 25, 26 calendars. Did you have anything you needed to say about that, Rod? Sorry.
So just to thank my team and the SCEA team. We worked pretty hard over about 3-4 months putting this together. If you've looked at it, I sent it out the last couple of weeks in the memo. If you look at it, you'll notice that they wanted to mirror what we've had over the last 2 years. So they sent out a survey to their staff. Their staff appreciated what we worked on previously to just create a couple of breaks in there. Most notably, the new fall break that happens in October and the May break. And they're just 4-day breaks, and 2 of those are the weekends. So it doesn't create a lot of time off the calendar, but it just creates time where students and staff can have that break. And it's gone over very, very positively. And so there really aren't a lot of changes. Most of the changes just come in the form of having to move up or down based on how the dates fall, because, they cycle through the year each year. So for your approval.
Thanks. And when will this be available to the public? I know there have been a lot of questions about whether this will be available.
Yes, we've gotten a lot of questions. People are already trying to make vacation for next year. So I am sending out tomorrow, before everybody heads off for spring break, a March parent update. It will have the calendars embedded right in the update, along with our Connections to Wellness, our podcast, and the remaining activity dates for the remainder of this year. So sometime tomorrow afternoon, we have Jim and I are at Champions Breakfast in the morning, then we have leadership, and so sometime in the afternoon, I hope to get that out.
Okay. If there are no questions for Rod, I would entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Support.
Jack and Jessica? Any comments or questions? Be it resolved that the Swartz Creek, be it resolved that the Swartz Creek Community Schools Board of Education approves the 2024, 2025, and 2025, 2026 school year calendars as presented. Sue, can you do roll call, please?
Chuck Melkey,
Yes.
Holly Jarvis.
Yes.
Carrie Germain.
Yes.
Jack Sayer,
Yes.
Andrea Fick,
Yes.
Kim Winter,
Yes.
Jessica Lenee.
Yes.
7 yes.
Thank you. Motion passes, and I want to thank Rod and team and the SCEA for coming up with this calendar, and I know the community will be looking forward to it. Next on our agenda, we have a delegate and alternate representative for the GISD annual budget hearing, and I would open up the floor for people who are interested in acting in that capacity. First, as a delegate, someone who would attend the meeting on the 24th of April in the evening. I'm looking at Jessica, but not for any particular
I can make it,
reason.
but if somebody else would like to attend, I will not stand in their way.
So do I hear your interest, Jessica?
Interested.
Yes.
That's what I
am
heard.
willing.
Don't everyone stampede. And so
Oh,
Jessica?
can I make one caveat with that?
Yes, ma'am.
please? Because I think that was last year, was that the same meeting where they did the academic evening? I will just qualify this. I have a senior this year. If there is anything senior related, I will need the alternate to go.
Jim, the academic is the, it was May 20th?
Oh, that's right. Yep, just making sure, because last
So
year.
that, and this is
I just
April,
wanna
right? So I
qualify.
think we're good.
Yep, just qualify.
And I would also open the floor for an alternate volunteer, someone who would back up Jessica if in fact she's selected as our delegate. I think, Andrea, you may have been the one who
I
was
did
in.
last year. but
Okay.
It looks like I have some things on that week already.
Okay.
So I'd prefer not to, just
Okay.
because it looks like I already have a couple
Absolutely
things on that
fine.
week.
Anyone who would like to?
I'll be the alternate.
Jack. Thanks,
Thanks,
What a
Jack.
great thing. Okay, so with that, I would entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Support.
I have a motion and support. Do I support? Did I say yes and yes? Was that Holly and Jessica? All right, any comments or questions? All right, be it resolved that the Swartz Creek Community Schools Board of Education approves Jessica Lenee as the delegate representative and Jack Sayer as the alternate representative for Swartz Creek Schools at the annual GISD budget hearing held on Wednesday, April 24th, 2024, as presented. And Sue, can you do roll call, please?
Holly Jarvis. Kim Winter. Yes. Carrie Germain.
Yes.
Chuck Melkey.
Yes.
Andrea Fick. Jack Sayer.
Yes.
Jessica Lenee.
Yes.
7
Thank
yes.
you. Motion passes, and thanks for being great volunteers. All right, next, we have the approval of the 105C School of Choice 2024-25 Board Resolution.
So every year, we do have to approve school of choice programming. In your packet, you do have the school of choice definitions. As always, nothing has changed. The deadlines are in there as well for first semester and for second semester for your approval.
All right, if there are no questions for Rod, I would entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Jessica?
Support.
Andrea? Any comments or questions?
I have a couple. How many kids are we limited to, Rod?
We have an open enrollment.
So there's no maximum amount.
No, you can do open or limited. We have always done open.
Hey, I have one question.
Are they from, oh, go ahead.
Oh, I'm
No, go
sorry.
ahead. I was going to say, are they from every district within the county, or is it from without the county, outside the county also?
You can have contiguous county students, so if the county touches Genesee County, they
Right.
do have, it's the other version, but in the county is the majority of our school of choice. I think I sent out the numbers from my data. It was about maybe February or January for the last school year in which we have full data from the count. And I think we are at about plus 250 in gains from loss versus enrollment.
So for the children we lost and the children we brought in, we're ahead 250. How many kids total did we bring in from outside the district?
Yeah, so that's, it was approximately 800, is like 820 or something, and so that would give us what? Plus 250 was about 550.
So we're losing 570 kids.
Yeah, and gaining over 800.
Do we know where those 570 children from Swartz Creek are going? Or is that data not available?
Oh, absolutely. We can give you a number on absolutely every district that comes, every student that comes in, what district they came from, and what district they go to. Flushing, Grand Blanc, Durand are pretty much washes. We do gain majority of kids from Carmen Ainsworth and Flint, and we lose the highest majority to Byron, Lake Fenton, and Linden. Fenton's a wash.
That's good. Thank you. I appreciate that data.
My question was, when these students apply, is there like any vetting procedure?
So there's only one legal way to not accept a student through school of choice, and that is discipline within the last 2 years. So you can talk to Sue, but I am extremely strict on that. If they have a suspension in the last 2 years, unless it is done at an early age or done for something that is very not serious, I usually deny them.
Okay, so you said what was the number that we had?
We're a little over 800 in and 550 to 70 out. And that's total over long periods of time, right? Because once they're in, and once they're out, they're out. So that's, of the 3,500 kids, 800 are in and 500 and some have gone out.
Okay.
Okay, so of our 3,400 kids, 800 of them, or 25% are from outside our district.
So if we didn't have school of choice, our enrollment would be about 2,600 kids instead of 3,500 kids,
Right.
which is similar data all around the county.
Right. And in the 570 that we're losing, you told us the district, so I get the numbers, I don't get why we're losing 18% of our population.
It's not a Swartz Creek issue. Those numbers are the same for every district.
Really?
Yeah, you're getting kids coming, like you said, some are a wash, right? I mean, obviously, we're gonna get the influx from Flint because they're closing all their buildings, right? That's a given, because we're so close, but you're gonna have the influx of people. I know there's parents that teach here that bring their kids here instead of vice versa, right? Or I know a family, their daughter's in Jacob's class, and they just gave their kids a choice when they got to high school if they wanted to go to a different school, and they did. They, for whatever reason, one chose Linden, one chose Lake Fenton.
Plus, we've run, I think Jody was the first one who was asked when she was MTSS coordinator like 10 years ago. We've run academic and suspension data 5 times over the last 10 years, and there's never any difference. Our current school of choice suspension rate is 8.8%, and our current district rate is 8.5%. So it's literally no difference. Our academic star reading, star math is almost equal. There's a couple of grade levels where one group is higher and the other group is lower, but on average, they're within 1 to 2% meeting benchmark in every differentiated group, so.
Well, I have a comment on that, though. If you're saying the percentage is about the same, but obviously, I mean, there's way more Swartz Creek residents here than there is. So I don't know how that data can be exactly the same.
So there's 2,600 resident students, and you take the ones that are suspended and divide by 2,600, and there's 800 school of choice kids, and you take the ones that are suspended and divided by 800, and that's how you get the percent from each. It's not convoluted data, it's separate data. So it means that 8% of the school of choice population versus 8% of the resident data what it's saying is that happens at an equal rate. It's separate data. It's not convoluted and mixed together.
We're gonna have raw numbers of more, because 8% of 2,600 kids.
I can give you the raw numbers.
No, I understand, I'm just
Which is gonna
helping.
be a higher number of Swartz
I mean,
kids.
didn't we already give the raw numbers? I mean, I remember this being an email that came out
Yeah,
the
we
last time.
calculated it 5 times over the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Hasn't changed.
Do any of the kids come back once they leave? Just curious. Like, if somebody goes out, have we ever gotten any of them back?
We do get some back. Probably our largest group that comes back is from charters. At one point, we had a big influx into what's the academy on Torrey Road? Madison Academy, and within 3 years, we had like 80% of those kids back.
I just was
Yeah,
curious.
so it happens. It doesn't happen a lot. Just generally, I mean, you have a lot of transient situations on both sides of, you have kids who are transient that are resident districts. They've moved in, they're residents, and then they move out. You actually probably, I don't know, I don't have this number, but my guess is the transient students are probably more often in district because they've literally moved in and then they moved again. Generally, kids that are coming in through choice have to be driven in, and so they generally pick a school and stay. But that's an interesting one. I haven't thought about that.
I mean, you probably had some spousal placement as well, like the family that was together, and then they split, so custody arrangements go back and forth, and then they're in and out or whatever, but that's not kid choice either. I mean,
Yeah, that does happen.
So do you think we lose more when we're looking at that number? We lose more at the high school level because of, she just said, why would we lose somebody in Byron who chooses Byron as a smaller school, right? No offense, but it is a smaller school, and typically people are looking for the bigger and the more things for their kids at school. But that's a lot of the Gaines students. They do elementary at Gaines, and Byron just might be physically closer.
So the majority of, like, say Byron, where we do lose a lot of kids too, those kids, a lot of them never even enrolled in Swartz Creek.
Okay, so they didn't like do Gaines and then went to Byron. They just went right to Byron.
Chose, there are some that started in the elementary and either left, before 5th grade, that would be the big move, or they never showed up in the first place.
Okay.
And that's similar to our South End school, so Moorish is your furthest south school, and when it was a K-5, it would lose, of its, 80 to 90 fifth graders, it would lose on average 10 to 12 every year to Lake Fenton, instead, so 90 kids, and, only 78 would make it to the middle school, the other 12 were going to Lake Fenton. But if you live off a Grand Blanc Road, the distance to Lake Fenton High School and Swartz Creek High School is practically identical, and that's why that's one of our other big losses. I bring it up every time at county meetings that she's just Swartz Creek South. So.
Right, right.
How many districts have school of choice, Rod? Does every district?
All 21.
All 21? So no one's
Well, it's throughout the state, but all 21 in Genesee County participate in state school of choice, yes.
Okay.
We had this conversation last year. Rod and I might rehash it all the time. Are we good still, John?
Yeah. I'm sorry, because I
Well,
think
there's
it's
some
like-
issues with taxes on that. I mean, you guys laugh at it. There's residents in this district, that pay 7.5 mils in special assessments to this district. And they say, oh, well, we get the money. Well, those residents are paying 7.5 mils to this district, and that benefits kids from outside of our district. Well, you can't shrug your shoulders. That's a true statement.
Yeah.
Numbers don't lie. Liars can't figure out numbers. So we pay 7.5 mils in this district, and other districts come over to use our facilities. And I've talked to a lot of taxpayers, and they're like, well, we're paying to supplement somebody else. I know we get $9,800 from the state, and you're like, well, if we lost those 800 kids, something would happen. No, we'd have less staff because we wouldn't have as much product to put out. It's a product. So, it's going to be an issue, and, people are paying taxes, and they're not going to, if somebody else wants to pay taxes in their district, then up your taxes and keep your kids there.
And I would say that is an issue in every single district.
It is, right. And you know what? Somebody has to address it at some point, and we're addressing it in active discussion.
I
Right.
mean, don't we also have people that are paying those that aren't using their kids are going someplace
Yes.
else, they live in the district, so
Yes.
they aren't getting the benefits.
But maybe they move their kids out of this district because we're bringing in a large influx of kids. That's what I hear from a lot of the parents. I know a parent that took 3 kids out because of that. I'm not saying that, obviously, the numbers aren't there because Rod said, hey, we got 820 coming in and 550 going out. So we're plus on that number. But it's not, you're paying taxes for kids that may live in another district, and it may be not their fault that they live in that other district. But the bottom line is, you're paying 7.5 mils in special millage to the district and special bonds to make the district better, which I'm for, but people from other communities utilize that. And I don't know how to adjudicate that or justify that as a taxpayer when you're like, well, I'm paying for my district, for my kids and my neighbor's kids, but other kids use the district. I get that.
Honestly, if I'm doing the right math, we have 3,500 kids.
Yes.
Total. We have an extra 250. That's 7% of our total student population. I mean, 7%.
It's a 7%, it's a 7% difference.
It's 7% more kids we have coming to our buildings.
Right.
Yeah, I'm paying tax dollars for that, but again, yes, we are getting money for them, but it's populating our buildings. Like, it's bringing people in, people want to be here. I'll go back to the same conversation we had last time. Nobody wanted to move to Swartz Creek 8 years ago. I had this conversation with someone a few weeks ago, and they said, you're right, they didn't. Nobody wanted to move here because our facilities were not in good shape. Our schools weren't in good shape. We didn't have the STEM labs, the fields, the facilities, all the things. People did not want to come here because our facilities were not good. They do now. People want to come here. We should be proud of the fact that we have an extra 7% more students than a loss of 7%.
That's what I was saying too. I literally talked to a lady today. She lives in the district. She sends her kid to a charter school. She pays for them to go somewhere else. And she's like, just because, we just got here, she's like, but every person I've talked to about anything makes me want to be in that school. So she's like, I'm going to, and that had nothing to do, she was talking to me about something completely different. So, good news travels fast, whether you live in here or you don't. And I just think about the opportunities that we wouldn't have had if school of choice wasn't an option. Where down the path would I be? Where would my kids be? So I'm grateful for the fact that there's school of choice. And I get that's a completely different concept of what we're talking about here. But it's going back and forth. Like, there's the good and the bad.
May I say something? I think we can think we know what our district could be like or would be like. To an extent, I think what you're saying, Chuck, is, well, we could still have this. We don't know what this district would be like without those students. Those students that live in this community and those students that come into this community are currently what's making this district what it is. Without those students, then maybe we can't afford to hire the teachers that we need, right? Whether for the special ed, we can't do the programming that we do without those students. I think what I heard you saying is some of the people think, well, then we wouldn't need those programmings. Well, that's not necessarily the case. We just don't. And there are a couple things to that. And I'm sorry that I feel like I'm not communicating this very well, but this is what I think, that we have a base. There's a fluctuation of students that leave for a variety of reasons. There are students that come in for a variety of reasons. The taxpayers in this community, they might not appreciate, or they might want it just to stay with students that live in this community. However, number one, that's not the only way that we get funding. So some of what we're saying that would be provided in this district, we think would not even be provided at all with those tax dollars, because we wouldn't get what we get from the state without those additional 250 students coming in. So there's a part of that, and there's another part of it that is paying it forward, because you know what, if we are the amazing district that our new teachers talked about, and we have the reputation that we do you know what, those students that are coming out from someplace else, I'd like to think they're getting what they need from our district. And isn't that what we're supposed to do in the world? We're supposed to help students and people to be good citizens and great learners and go out and be good citizens. And if we're doing a good job with that and we can afford to do it, then let's do it.
I agree 110% with you, Jessica. We've had a lot of, no, you're good. We've had a lot of discussion, but we're also not a social program. We're an educational facility that represents the kids within our district. And if kids in our district want to go somewhere else, and we're such a great district, I want to know why we're losing that 520. And I understand some kids, maybe their parents teach other places. Maybe it's more convenient for them to go to other places. But I sure would like to know why, deep down, why we're losing. That's a large amount. Get rid of the 800 kids. If you weren't bringing in 800 kids, we're losing 13%, 3,500, 520. Actually, we're losing more than that. We're losing about 20%, 14, 15% of our kids. And I mean, my boys went here, most of my families went here, and I would like to keep all the kids that live within our district here and bring in some other kids. You know, but I don't, maybe that's just not the way things work anymore. So that's all. I'm torn between it. I'm for the kids, you know that, but at the end of the day, I also look at fiduciary responsibilities.
I like the way Jessica put it, like it's paying it forward. You know, at the end of the day, it's unfortunate that, you know, I just sold a house by a Flint school that's been closed for years. It's sad, right? Like that's a total Blythe sitting there. You know, so it's unfortunate that our neighboring district isn't as supported as they used to be and as populated. And we're here to pay it forward. And at the end of the day, I'm a taxpayer. Yeah, we might maybe paying a little bit, but for 7% of our student population, I don't feel like we're bringing in, if it was reversed and it was, you know, maybe 25%, I could feel differently, but I don't feel like 7 is I wouldn't want to renew my taxes and pay for these facilities for my own kid or for my own property values to be what they are because we have good facilities. I don't know, we talked about it all, the same debate last year, taxes, what is the ratio that the school of choice kids, their grades and drugs and all that stuff, and I think I squashed that last year, but they've been here well before school of choice kids, so, but I do think, you know, there's a lot of reasons, Chuck, so we're never gonna know. This has been a conversation that we've had for years, and everybody wants to know why. There's so many reasons why, like Holly said, there's, you know, divorcees, right? You know, I have a client that one spouse is in Flushing, one's in Swartz Creek, right? We kept those 2 kids, but dad is now a resident of Flushing, you know, right? So he's paying taxes to Flushing, but his kids come here. And people's jobs, whatever, there's all kinds of reasons. Sometimes it's just straight up, somebody got irritated and they left because they didn't like what a teacher said or a coach said or whatever. They went to a different facility, but I can guarantee you 5-6 years ago, it was because our facilities, sports facilities weren't what they needed to be, and people left for sports. Some of them are probably still there, right? Or maybe their next kid is there. Hopefully that's gonna turn back around because our facilities are top-notch now. And we'll get that brother and sister and next family coming in and staying here.
I mean, I agree. It's very easy. I want to know too. I want to know why somebody leaves, why somebody chooses to go someplace else. But unfortunately, I don't think we'll ever find that answer. I just have to look at the positive of that 7% that maybe I'm making their life better than what they had an opportunity for. And I know that sucks, and I want to know why, you know, somebody doesn't come here anymore, or why you made the choice. I get that. I want to know that too. But I have to look past the fact that I'll never know that, and I'm happy that maybe I'm making it better for somebody else that wouldn't have that choice otherwise.
I agree with you, Holly, and hopefully those students and families, when their students are graduating from Swartz Creek, will think back and say, I am so happy I made that choice, and that I was able to make that choice, and that it will change their future. So with that, I am going to entertain a motion for approval, or we already have done that. Did I?
Yeah, it's discussion on the motion.
But I have not read the motion, so I will do that. Be it resolved that the Swartz Creek Community Schools Board of Education approves the 105, 105C, and 105C School of Choice for 2024-2025 Board Resolution as presented. And Sue, can you do roll call, please?
Carrie Germain?
Yes.
Andrea Fick? Yes. Jessica Lenave?
Yes.
Holly Jarvis?
Yes.
Kim Winter?
Yes.
Jack Sayer?
No.
Chuck Melkey?
No.
All right, we have 5 yeses, motion passes. Thank you. Next on our agenda, we have the approval of K-5 Reading Wonders program that I mentioned in my report from Academic Achievement.
So if you've been following academic achievement, you know that There are 3 subcommittees looking at reading, math, and writing. And so this is just a buy to keep us viable in reading until they make that next decision. The first decision is obviously going to be writing and then reading and math. So this is materials for K through 5 in Reading Wonders for your approval.
So this is a subscription service?
All of the curriculum now comes with electronic subscriptions, yeah. That's
Okay.
part of it.
So here's my question. This is about $35,000, to simplify that number. $35,000, and then that's for 2 years, correct?
Yes.
Now, in the terms of service, it says that will, it'll change to a 1-year renewal after the 2 years. Will that still be 35,000? Or is that gonna get split in half to 17, do we know?
Yeah, that would be a new number, it wouldn't be 35,000.
Okay. Would that be a new, that would be a new thing?
We would
that
have
we
to
would
agree and
act?
sign, yeah.
Okay. Okay, that was my only question.
Okay. With that, I would entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Jack?
Support.
Holly? Any comments or questions? Hearing none, be it resolved that the Swartz Creek Community Schools Board of Education approves the K-5 Reading Wonders Program from McGraw-Hill in the amount of $34,879.68 to be paid out of the textbook budget for each grade level. Sue, can you do roll call, please?
Jack Sayer,
Yes.
Andrea Fick,
Yes.
Carrie Germain,
Yes.
Holly Jarvis,
Yes.
Chuck Melkey.
Yes.
Kim Winter,
Yes.
Jessica Lenee.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. Thank you very much. Next, we have the approval of the Morris walk-in freezer.
Yeah, so this is the Morris walk-in freezer for Morris Elementary out of the Food Services Department for your approval.
If there are no questions, I would entertain a motion for approval.
Is this a new, I'm sorry, you want approval?
Well,
So they can go ahead, somebody can approve and we'll have discussion on the motion.
Do I have a motion?
so moved.
Jessica? Holly? Okay, any comments or questions? Chuck? you
Are
had
we
a question?
replacing a cooler, Rod, or is this an additional cooler?
No, this is a walk-in.
Is
It's a
this like the
freezer.
one we did? I mean, we did one of these like 2 years ago, right? 2 years
That's
ago? maybe?
Irene, yeah.
Okay. Same sort of situation?
Yep.
Okay. I feel like that one was cheaper.
Does that answer your question, Chuck?
Well, this one, I mean, it was briefly discussed at the finance and operations, it was gonna be about 50,000, and this doesn't have a concrete pad going in, I don't think, does it? Does it? Okay. Because, yeah, the pad and the cooler from the one that we did at, I thought it was at D, was 40,000.
Sorry.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
Nope, you're good.
Was
That's
it
what I was
bigger?
saying. I thought it was way cheaper
And that
when we
was-
did it at Siren.
That was during the bad time, too, so.
But is this one much bigger because it's the middle school, more students, more food?
It's going to more. I don't, Rod, let me ask you a question. Was this bid through the, how was it bid out? Through my school or
To the consortium.
consortium?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So we're getting the best possible deal that we can. That's my only concern with it. Because it's so much more. And I thought that Jamie said it was around 50 grand when I heard her at the meeting.
That's the thing, when we talked about it, and I think to put it in the notes.
That you don't have in your notes and I don't have in the notes because it was discussed at
It was
finance.
discussed, and I didn't put it in there because we went over it briefly, that it was gonna be 50,000. What we didn't talk about was the service side
So
on
the
it.
walk-in combination is 50,000.
Yeah,
That must be what
it's-
she was referencing. It's the rest of the,
The service part of it
Yeah.
and what will be done.
And it should be noted, we're using food service funds for this. So
correct.
it's
This
not
is
coming
all-
out of our general
This
budget.
is not out of the general fund, no.
We need to,
I'll
did we
just-
need to spend down food service anyways?
Yeah, we
Yes.
do.
A little bit.
So we have the
Okay.
money to do it for certain.
All right, so I have a motion. Any more discussion?
No, I made my
Okay.
discussion. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Be it resolved that the Swartz Creek Community Schools Board of Education approves the purchase of Imperial Brown rectangular outdoor combo provided by HPS. The total cost for the walk-in cooler project is $71,864.94 to be funded by the food service budget. Sue, can you do roll call, please?
Jessica Lenave,
Yes.
Chuck Melkey,
Yes.
Carrie Germain.
Yes.
Holly Jarvis.
Yes.
Andrea Fick.
Yes.
Kim Winter.
Yes.
Jack Sayer.
Yes.
7 yes.
Thank you, motion passes. Finally, going on to opportunity for public comment. If anybody'd like to address the board, please come forward to the podium, state your name, and keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. And I don't see anyone who's rushing forward.
Travis?
Travis? We'll move on to our closed session. We do have, and I'd like to take a moment, once we're done with this action right here, but closed session for the purpose of attorney-client privileged communication per OMA 15.268, Section 8(1)E. I would entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Or,
Any comments or questions? Hearing none, Sue, can you do roll call, please?
Holly Jarvis.
yes.
Jack Sayer.
Yes.
Kim Winter.
Yes.
Carrie Germain.
Yes.
Andrea Fick. Chuck Melkey.
Yes.
Jessica Lenave.
Yes.
7 yes.
Thank you, motion passes. And before we do that, I would like to give our board an opportunity to do brief comments and questions, especially because we've just hired 2 new folks, and I want to thank them and their leaders, and thank you for choosing Swartz Creek. I also want to thank Travis. He doesn't get enough, nor does Sue. They're here every single time, and they support us more than the community will ever know. And I also want to thank Mr. Swade and Madeline Francis at Francis, who was here. Great program. I look forward to seeing, where that goes, what direction it takes. And for Sean Kovach as well for being here. So, and Jody Morgan. So thank you. Thanks for all that you do. Anybody else before we go into session?
Well, I'll just say, because I wanted to check, leadership at the high school, they do go over to Cyrene to elementary, just so you know, because I know a student who made a little, the Cyrene student drew a monster, the students made the monsters, and then they took them over, and they still go over regularly, like the other day they went over, and they just played out in the, for recess on the playground, well, even longer than recess, but they played chase on the playground, but they each have a buddy there, like 20 or 30 students in leadership, and they do go over to Cyrene, so I know that happens. I don't know about any of the other.
Yeah, if I could jump in there,
Please.
the middle school also has Project Unify, which is a similar program, except it's for cognitively impaired kids. So we do still have a lot of the program around the district. The new part about Mr. Sway's program is it specifically helps autistic children. So that's where the new part is. So as we expand, we'll be able to expand. Plus, you also have to remember that when they move from building to building, programs move with them. So when the population of CI students are at the middle school per se come to the high school, then Project Unify will follow them as well.
Nice. And then I have a question going back to Mary Crapo. And you'd think, I don't have it in my notes with me right here when we talked about at the committee meeting, and I'm going to look down at Jim for a minute. The progression into Chuck's question, we got the revised numbers from Lurvy. We asked Jamie Cowan to check and make sure that we had the funds to be able, because phase 1, we're trying to use monies that we have now, just so everybody's on the same page. Jamie has confirmed that we have those monies, correct? Or no, she has not?
She doesn't have the final run on that. So if she does and it's in capital projects, it would be a vote when the contracts come. If she doesn't, then the choice would be to remove the remaining out of fund equity or fund
Okay,
balance.
but this is where I'm going. Is Lurvy planning on sending out those bids now? There's the meeting, or do we need to have another meeting? This is where I'm going, and I think where Chuck was asking. I want to make sure that we vote and approve at some point to move forward on phase one to get the bids out, and I know how timely that is. Are we planning on doing that at the next board meeting, or do we need to have some type of motion that just grants that contingent on?
We've
that funding?
never had a motion to release bids, so
Okay,
that's
just,
never happened, yeah.
okay,
So we'll just confirm numbers and get bids. When the bids come in, then you'll decide, do I want to spend the money or not? Yeah.
And you'll have the opportunity to see it before.
So there was obviously the water issue from the county. Sounded like Lurvy had about 80% of what he needed, and then Jamie had to recheck numbers. So I don't think bids will be back by next meeting, but they should be out.
I think so.
We need to get bids out before we get behind the 8 ball, that's all. Or we're not gonna get any work done.
Okay, anyone else? All right. All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks to my fellow board members, to Jim and Rod and your teams. Can't say enough about all the things you guys do to support our students and families. And I'm going to put in one more plug for Connections to Wellness in the Creek, April 9th, 5:30 to 7:30, or maybe a little bit later. And there's a free food giveaway, the mobile food pantry for families that are looking for a week's worth of food. So come join the festivities and then get a voucher to go over and get food. We look forward to seeing all of you if you can make it there. It was a lot of fun last year. And poor Katie Hunt, she's done an amazing job, and she's stressing a little bit about space, but right now we have plenty of space. They've worked it out, and the food, I think, is going to be very good. Right, Jim? You're guaranteeing us really good food.
Absolutely.
We met the gentleman today, and there's a good plan about distribution and
Scratch
barbecue.
Did you get to taste test it? Did he bring you?
It's in the old Fuddruckers building on Miller Road.
Did you get a
Yes.
taste test?
No, we did not. No. Yes, so, thank you, everybody, and we are going to now go, and we'll take a brief break and then go into our closed session. Thank you very much. Thanks, Travis.